This is Front Up on Geno TV. I'm Dan Drake, and our guest is Curtis Barnes. Welcome, Curtis Barnes. Probably best known for having been the town crier for many years,
yes, sir.
But active in many other things. And this year, a sponsor of 3 articles within the warrant for the 2013 annual meeting relating to the Historic District Commission.
Correct.
And I'd love to talk about them in sequence, if we could. The first one is a requirement for term limits on members of the Historic District Commission.
Actually, Dan, I see this in a little different scenario. I see the overview of one of the articles being to go back to basics, as I call it. The second important thing is selectmen appointments, and the third would be term limits from my point of view.
All right, well, let's start with then.
Are you comfortable with that?
I'm absolutely comfortable. I'm flexible.
Okay.
So let's talk about going back to basics. The second article that's in the order that they're
the sequence that they put them in, but that wasn't my intention.
Is that the HDC's jurisdiction go back to be restricted, as it was initially, to the historic districts of the town of Nantucket and the village of Sconset.
Correct.
Would you like to explain why you think it's important to do that?
First of all, I refer to the original act of 1955, which is the definition that was given in that act. And over time, we've expanded, and as I'll comment later in the Preservation Trust report, they've looked at amendments and variations and interpretations and guidelines and things. And you know, first of all, I think the HDC is a good thing for Nantucket. I think we're unique, we're a historic place, and it's very important that we maintain that integrity. But there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think it may be a little broke, and I think we need to look at fixing it. So my idea is to go back to the basics, look at the original act and the town and Sconset as the core areas. I've discussed this since the articles were put in, and I'm not suggesting that we abolish any HDC jurisdiction elsewhere in the island. I'm thinking in particular of the Tristram's Landing situation, which caused some of the amendments after the original act. And it does occur to me that while we may want to submit all requests to the HDC, at least structurally. I'm not particularly anxious to have them review fences and driveways and things like that, but my feeling is that the majority of the review should be done by staff. That is, if there is something going on in Tom Nevers or in the Mid-Island area, if you will, the application can go through. It can be seen by staff, and only if there's a significant question should it go to the full commission. The full commission should focus on the 2 historic areas, but that does not mean I'm proposing to abolish the HDC in other areas. I'm just saying...
This article would appear to do that, though. It says to limit the jurisdiction to the old and historic district of the town and the old and historic Sconset district.
Well, that was what I submitted, and you know, you have to submit them back in December. There's been an awful lot of discussion. The citizens group that's working on other ideas to streamline the HDC, and so we've had discussions, and I may be prepared to offer an amendment along the lines that I'm suggesting at town meeting. I think the important thing is to get this on the agenda, to get it in front of the townspeople. There's been an awful lot of discussion among the builders and the realtors and others. No one has put an article in that addresses these questions. So my articles actually put it back on the floor, and I'm trying to say, let's take a look at what we're doing and see how we're doing it and why we're doing it.
What happened if this article passed? What would you do if this article passed?
Well, I think it'd be an awfully good idea if the article passed. I suspect that it would be amended. I may submit the amendment as I've outlined, but I think what we're trying to do is focus on the essentials, and I do want to point out and encourage everyone to look at the Preservation Trust report, a very extensive report that I don't know if you realize there are 100 historic.
You have it there?
I have the report, yep, and this was issued fairly recently. There are 100 historic commissions in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm not so sure we all know that. But the comparable commissions are in Boston and Cambridge, as outlined in this report. One of our problems is we do not have adequate staff to review the many applications we get. We get, according to this report, 7,000 to 8,000 applications a year. Darn few of them are for buildings and structures. There are an awful lot of them for driveways and fences and things. But in Boston, the staff is 6 people, and in Cambridge it's 5 people.
For how many applications?
For similar numbers of, well, Cambridge is 3,500 with 5 people, and Boston is about 9,000 with 6 people, plus an archaeologist. So what we really need, and what the town needs to look at, is strengthening the staff of the HDC. And having staff review the applications before they go to the commission with recommendations. And that is part of the evolving discussion that's going on now, to have written recommendations by staff going to the commissioners before it comes up at the meeting.
What about the question of how the commissioners get into office, whether they're elected or appointed?
Well, I'm a big fan of appointed. For example, your own airport commission is appointed. The Board of Health is now appointed when that was broken out of the selectmen. The ZBA is appointed. CONCOM is appointed. The majority of members to the boards in Nantucket are appointed boards. And I think that the appointment process gives us the opportunity to encourage qualified people to step up. People who don't want to go into the so-called elective process around here, which is a popularity contest in many cases. I would also note that in the 100 commissions throughout the Commonwealth, ours is the only one where the members are elected. All the rest are appointed either on recommendation of the mayor in Boston or the city manager in Cambridge.
Isn't there an extra wrinkle here, however, that you have the decisions of any appeal of the decision of the Historic District Commission is to the Board of Selectmen?
That's something that is being looked at, and in other jurisdictions that is not the case.
I believe this is the only town where it is the case.
Well, part of the whole review of the HDC Commission and process obviously should be to address that question.